In this video, we're going to put together all of our knowledge of arithmetic sequences and series in order to kind of confront a situation that involves something that's very arithmetic. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the example that I've provided us with here. It says the first row of a concert, it's supposed to be a concert hall, I apologize, concert hall has 25 seats, and it says each row after the first one has one more seat than the row before it, and there are 32 rows of seats. Okay, so I suppose we could look at it this way. We'd say, maybe here's a row of seats here, and the first one has 25 in it, and then you look at the second row of seats, and maybe it looks like this, and there's 26 in this row, and then 27 in this row, 27, okay, 28 and 29 and 30. So we have this kind of like I don't know, like trapezoidal configuration, and what I can tell you is that this is the first row, second row, third row, all the way down to what we're saying is the 32nd row. Okay, so you could look at this really as being a sequence of, say 32 things being, in sequence going up by 1 every time. So what we want to do is write a rule for the number of seats in the nth row. I suppose that what we could do is just start by writing out a few terms of this sequence here, but we would say the n represents the row that you're in, and then an would represent the number of seats in that row. Okay, so we'd say our first row has 25, next row has 26, next row has 27, 28, 29, and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, we aren't currently aware of how many seats are in that 32nd row, but we could actually determine this. So our job right now is just to write a rule for the number of seats in the nth row. So that is, we just need to know two things. I suppose the rule for an arithmetic thing, the nth term of an arithmetic sequence, would be the first term plus n minus 1 times the common difference. So we need to know two things here. What is the value of the first term, and what is our common difference? And in this case, we know both. We know the value of our first term is 25, or at least 25. I could label this, we say 25 seats. We say the common difference in this case, 26 minus 25 is 1, or 27 minus 26 is 1. Basically 1. It's going up by 1 every single time. So our rule for this nth, or for the nth term of this arithmetic sequence would be an equal to my first term plus n minus 1 times d. N minus 1 times d, where our d is 1, our first term is 25. So we end up with this here. We'll go ahead and distribute. We get 25 plus n minus 1. In other words, we say an would come out to be this. N and a 25 and a negative 1, of course, gives us a 24. So we say an equals n plus 24. So this is a rule for the nth term, and this is what we wanted to find here. We could actually, go to find how many students would be able to sit in the 32nd row, say something like that, or, how many seats are in the 32nd row, just to show you here. We say A32, because I'm curious, that is. A32 would be equal to 32 plus 24, so I suppose there would be 56 seats in that final row, just in case you're curious. So letter B says this: 35 students from a class want to sit in the same row. How close to the front can they sit? And this is an interesting question. As a matter of fact, what we're really kind of doing is trying to think backwards on this one here. So we say 35 students want to sit in the same row. What row would you be in? So we know the value of the number of seats that we need. The question is really, what row would you be in here? So we know the value of an in this case is going to come out to be 35. The question is, well then, what row would you have to be in? And so since we have the rule here, we say an is equal to this first term, which is 25, plus, n minus 1 times d. Actually, we clean that up. We got n plus 24 here as our cleaned up rule. What we're going to do is we're actually just going to go plug in 35 for the value of the number of seats that we need and say, well, then what row must we have been in? So we say, all right, well, 35 seats is what we need. What row would we be in here? N plus 24. And I'm going to go ahead and start by subtracting 24 from both sides here, and we find out this. Essentially that 35 minus 24 is 11. So in other words, you must be in the 11th row if you all want to sit together, or at least you could reserve the 11th row, because the 11th row would be the one that has 35 seats in it. Cheers.